Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andrew Seegers, and this time we're again joined by Derek Binner to discuss all the screenshots from this past week for Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. So let's get right into it. Alright Derek, so this week is kind of interesting in that there really was nothing new. And we kind of expected this. You know, after the Direct, they just dumped so much information. We kind of figured they were going to cool their jets for a little bit, and that's definitely the case this week. And there is really nothing new here. But there are still some things here that we can talk about that we haven't really, talked about specifically before. So there is that. So let's start off, of course, with Monday's screenshot being a picture of the fire bar and the beam saber. Now, we already did talk about the fire bar pretty in depth in our item discussion, which just went up a few days ago. But let's talk about the beam saber, because we didn't talk about the returning items too much. And I think we actually may have covered this in a past discussion at some point, but whatever. So we now know, and as we may have known before, I can't even remember, that the beam saber will now feature for the first time graduated colors, like a gradient going through it, which is kind of cool looking. It looks pretty sharp. It makes it a little bit more distinct from just being a pure Star Wars lightsaber ripoff. It just draws more attention to how much detail they really are adding to every facet of this game, it seems.
Yeah, they're giving each of the items unique to Smash Brothers its own sort of personality, making it seem sort of unified in the way they are. And, I mean, I love the beam saber. It's always been one of my favorite weapons, whether throwing it or using it or whatever. And, yeah, I mean, it seems to keep up the whole thing where the longer you charge it, the longer the slash is. Glad they're proud of the graduated covers, but I really don't have much else to say about this thing.
I've always found it to be a fun weapon to use, especially just throwing it at the opponents. I mean, I think I enjoy more for throwing it at people than I do actually using it as a lightsaber or a sword. Alright, moving on to Tuesday's screenshot, we get another look at the balloon fight stage coming to the 3DS version of Smash Bros. 3DS, of course. And Sakurai talks a little bit about how it's a looping stage. So when you cross over the screen barrier, you teleport to the other side of the screen, basically. Kind of like old school arcade games or like Balloon Fight, where if you fly off one side, you appear on the other. And I put on the analysis, because we could see this in the Direct. Apparently, some people miss that detail. So, as I pointed out, this is the first time it's happened in a Smash Brothers game. Even though some people mistakenly remembered the Mario Brothers stage as having that attribute when it didn't. What that stage did, the Mario Brothers stage and Brawl, what that stage did is the enemies could cross over, but the human opponents couldn't, nor could items, I think. So this is the first time they're doing this for an actual arena, and I think it's super cool. Like, it's a really unique thing they're doing here.
I totally agree. I'm kind of looking forward to the stage just because it's so different, and in a way, it kind of reminds me of Snake Stage from Brawl, Shadow Moses Island, where there were these two large pillars that would block people from getting just smashed off to the sides, so they kind of bounce. And we're kind of getting that here, except they just go off into the other side.
Right.
And I don't know, it could be fun. It's a nice way to set up traps and whatnot, where you're on the left side and you're aiming to the left to hit somebody on the right side, and it just keep up the chaos.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty wild, because imagine being Link. You can throw bombs. If you're on the left side of the screen, you can throw bombs to the right side of the screen instantly. It's gonna force you to keep an eye on the entire arena, more so than you would otherwise, because you're gonna have to be expecting attacks from both sides. But what I wonder though is how it's going to work KO wise. I mean, presumably, if you throw someone off the side, they're going to loop around to the other side, just as if you had walked off the screen. And that's definitely going to change the dynamic a ton, because that means the only way to KO someone is either off the top of the screen or in the lake below.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you really could do it, which, again, makes it sort of fun. It adds a new dynamic to Smash Brothers that we really haven't seen before to this degree.
Yeah, no, it's going to change really how it's going to feel very different from anything we've played in the Smash Brothers game before. The only thing I wonder they might do, and I talked about it in our analysis, I think, is having KOs only available to the top and bottom would drastically change things. Part of me still wonders if they still might have the side KOs. So basically, if you're thrown off or attacked off, if you're pushed off the screen by an opponent, that still might count as a KO. I don't think they'll do that, but I think there's a small possibility that could be how that works, but I don't know, I think that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think it's going to be much more based on ricochets, because the stage itself does not look that big. This thing looks about the same size as one of the Game & Watch stages, so I think that's going to make it KOs a little bit more common, which makes sense for this type if you're having it loop around like this.
Right.
The only other thing I noticed about this is that the placement of the flipper is completely different from what we saw from during the Direct.
Not just that, there's only one flipper as opposed to the 3, I think, 2 or 3. Yeah, 3, I think.
Yeah, there was 3 before.
Yeah.
So maybe they change out or get blown in from off the stage or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Where the placement changes, and again, you can get hit into them and get sent flying another way and get KO'd that way.
It does seem like in a few cases, and we'll discuss this more in our 3DS stage analysis coming up. It does seem like these stages are like mixing up how they'll actually like appear, or the actual stage form factor, more so than they've done in the past games. So that's another feature I'm looking forward to. Only other thing to comment about this picture, I'd say, of the stage: the fish is back. The fish, I'm sure everyone is intimately familiar with if they've played either Balloon Fight in Nintendo Land, or of course played on the Ice Climbers stage in Smash Brothers Brawl, where that thing would just appear randomly for no reason in that stage, but it wasn't even part of that game. Alright, moving on to Wednesday's picture, we get a look at Smash Run mode with Charizard eating a Waddle Dee, and my god, I feel so bad for that Waddle Dee. Like, he was just walking around with an umbrella, then Charizard just strolls up, starts eating his eyeball, and then his umbrella just flies off helplessly. I just feel so bad for the guy. Like, what'd he do? Like, Waddle Dees don't even really attack. They just walk around. They're going on a stroll.
Call me heartless, but I've been beating up Waddle Dees and everything else in Kirby for the past week that it didn't even really faze me.
You are heartless.
Yeah, well, I was the one playing Kirby when I was sucking up all the 3 little Waddle Dees from that gameplay video. But there's really not much to say except for one little thing, and I believe this is completely new. I'm pretty sure that is Charizard's grab,
right?
Which means you'll be able to grab and throw enemies in Smash Run, which I don't believe you could do that in either Adventure Mode from Melee or Subspace Emissary.
Oh, that's a good one, but I think you took damage if you got that close. I could be misremembering. It's been years since I played either. But I think you might be right there.
Yeah, I think I am. I'm not 100% positive, but I don't remember being able to just grab somebody and toss them off, which would make my life easier in Subspace Emissary, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that it seems like that'll be added in this case. Maybe not every enemy can be grabbed, but at least Waddle Dee can.
Poor Waddle Dee. So now you did the Smash Run analysis. You're intimately familiar with that whole arena. Do you know where roughly this screenshot's taking place?
Yes, roughly. It's on the top layer, where that sort of portal thing is in the middle. Mm-hmm. Go to the left, and this is where that tree is. So, it's towards the top. It's it's nothing too special, but it's like I said, I could probably look at any screenshot of Smash
figure out where.
Okay, it's there.
Yeah, exactly. Only other thing to maybe comment on, and this is something we could have brought up before, but never had a chance to because there wasn't much point. But the fact that we do know Waddle Dees will carry the Parasol item with them. Do you think that might mean that item might return to Smash Brothers, which I think hasn't been seen since Melee?
That's a hard one to say because, I'm not even that. I can't remember how the Parasol worked. I think it was when it wasn't being used. Was it folded up?
Yeah, I think. God, again, it's been a long time for me. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, when you threw it, it would sort of spin around like that. So maybe it is possible for it to work like that. Mm-hmm. I know most items in Smash Run you have to select from your little menu at the bottom.
Right.
I'm not sure if actual items will appear during Smash Run, and I saw no indication of that for the analysis. It could be, but if they bring back the Parasol, I did see some comments in there. People were like, I missed the Parasol, I want the Parasol back. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not indeed. Okay, moving on to Thursday's picture. We get a look at Yoshi's egg throwing move. And this time we can see it has a new rainbow effect, as Sakurai comments on. And he also points out that Zero Suit Samus has a new pose when she's firing the Paralyzer gun. So, not a ton to say here, but I do think, it does in fact, Sakurai himself says that they are working as hard as they can to brush up every element of the game, where possible. And again, it just goes to show how much detail they are putting in here, where they are rethinking how these characters, these returning veterans, how they look. And we've seen that a bunch with Yoshi, where they revamped his entire appearance to reflect more modern games. And just adding this little rainbow effect is pretty cool. And I think it will be useful too during the game to so you have a better idea of both for you and your opponents of where that egg's going, and and you can see maybe perhaps better see how how you tilt the control stick affects where that egg's going exactly.
That could be. I was actually thinking a little bit of the opposite. I was thinking that the stealth element of the egg, because it's not exactly a fast-moving thrown object or anything like that, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. So I was just, my whole thought with the egg throw is that, well, there goes all the stealth aspect where I can sort of sneak in some shots while people aren't looking. But maybe, I know I did say powered up Yoshi quite a little bit with him getting better posture, so maybe the egg throw is a bit more powerful this time around. Yeah,
it's definitely possible. So what do you think about Zero Suit Samus's, what do you think about her I mean business pose here?
I'm trying to remember her old pose, to be honest.
I couldn't remember either. I have no recollection of what it is.
I think she was a little lower. I don't think she had her legs spread out quite as far. I mean, it's definitely more dynamic, but I don't think it honestly changes that much for her character or anything like that.
Yeah, if you hadn't pointed it out, I don't think I would have noticed. And without doing a head-to-head, without doing a side-by-side comparison, which I'll probably end up doing soon, but
yeah, at some point. Yeah, I mean, it's just nice to see them paying attention to those little details. I mean, the fact that with the egg, the rainbow behind it, you can see the color variance and all the little mixtures where between the red and the yellow you can see a little bit of orange and the little sparklies. I mean, there's some really good detail here.
Yeah, there totally is. Alright, and speaking of detail, moving on to Friday's picture, we get a look at Mega Man's Final Smash again. Unfortunately, this picture reveals nothing new. We saw this in the Direct. But, it does go to show the detail they're putting into the Final Smashes as well, where you get 5 generations of Mega Man here. Now, you're far more familiar with the series than I am, so I figured I'd let you take this one.
Really, as you said, there's not too much to say other than it's just nice to see him there. And the funny thing is, I've never actually played any of the Mega Man.exe games or the Mega Man Star Force games.
So you've only played 3/5 of the Mega Man represented here?
Yeah, but the thing, well, I played Mega Man Zero and other games like that, but that, the Mega Man and those games are Zero. I mean, it's just great to see these characters. I mean, it's kind of funny to see the other 4 Mega Mans there, and they're so much more lean and realistic, and I guess more human shaped. And then you got Classic in there, and his head's so much bigger than everybody else's, and he's stout, and it's just kind of funny to see him. It almost seems like a little bit of a mismatch, but I still love it.
So do you think they went with seeing all the Mega Man here, do you think they went with the right model for the main playable character in Smash Brothers?
Yeah, I mean, people love, the only one closest to him would be X, but he doesn't as much, and people love X. But when you're going with a Mega Man for a Smash Brothers game, you think Classic. He just is the best fit overall and is the one everybody's familiar with. I mean, X would be the next closest one, and yeah, there's been a ton of games for .exe, not so much for Star Force and Volnut, but definitely Classic is the best choice here. The only thing with I'm a huge fan of Mega Man Legends. It's probably one of my favorite Mega Man games, and this is just it's kind of, seeing the Final Smash and seeing him there is awesome, but it also kind of is that bitter reminder that we were so close to getting Mega Man Legends 3, and right. I was one of those guys who's just like, damn it.
You did mention the Final Smash right there. I can't remember if we see the result of it in the Direct. Do you remember offhand? Did we see what happens?
All we see is them each doing a charged Mega Buster blast,
right?
And it going out, but we don't see it once it transitions away from this cutscene type thing.
So so let's talk about that real quick. First up, what do you think about that being its Final Smash? Just, I guess, but from a purely, well, I guess from both a visual and gameplay standpoint. I mean, assuming, taking a guess as to how it may work.
Well, I guessed in the analysis, the character analysis, the newcomers analysis, that the effect would sort of like combine into a rainbow, like super blast or something like that. And I also predicted that it probably won't be able to be aimed sort of like, Samus's laser is when she uses her final smash.
Right.
So this is probably going to be much more along the lines of something like triple finish for the Pokemon trainer, where these guys are probably just transition to the actual stage and have a blast coming out that'll cover probably a good bit, but not quite the whole thing, allowing people to escape if they can. That'd be my best guess to how it would actually work. But do you have any other ideas?
No, I mean I haven't played the series much. But what do you think about that being his final smash? Do you think that's pretty cool, or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to basically give fans this sort of reverence to the Mega Man series is a great callback. I mean, this is about the best you could ever hope for a final smash for Mega Man, because I could think of a few other things that you could do for his final smash that would also fit, but this is the pure fan service, and it works so well.
It's also kind of interesting. I don't know if it's indicative, or I don't know if it means anything, but Mega Man seems to be one of the few characters that gets his own cutscene for the final smash, because I don't think Brawl had too many of those. The only one I can think of offhand was Captain Falcon's, where the camera goes to him in the Blue Falcon, and you see him running along the racing on the track into his opponent. So I think it's cool that Mega Man gets his own little cutscene here, that at least starts off his final smash.
Yeah, I think we also have another one of those in this game so far, is in Greninja's final smash with the moon in the background, because I'm pretty sure that it might be from a specific level, but I have a feeling just the way the cinematic was set up that it was part of his actual final smash animation. So we might be seeing a bit more cinematic flavors to final smashes this time around.
Yeah, it very well could be. It'd be a good way just to add a little bit more character flavor to each of these matches, which they already do such a great job of. I was elated when they brought back the character introductions, or how when the character enters a stage. I was so happy they brought those back for Brawl, but I actually thought it took away a lot of the charm of in Melee, because they cut those out entirely, and the characters were just standing there, when the match began. So yeah, if they do even more of that, I'm all in favor. Alright guys, well I think that wraps up our discussion for Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS this week, so thanks for watching. If you like this discussion, make sure to follow us and like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date there during a post, and other things that aren't necessarily videos too. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys, bye.